Week 15 of the fantasy baseball season. Here's a few hitters I look to buy and trade for this week. First hitter, Vlad Guerrero Jr. of the Toronto Blue Jays. So just a weird season overall here for Vlad. Only 4 home runs, 34 RBIs, 45 runs scored, a 268 average, a 347 on base, and 6 stolen bases. In the last month, he's really hit below the Mendoza line. 1 home run, 10 RBIs, 10 runs scored, a stolen base, a 188 average, and a 223 on base. So last season, we know this Blue Jay team, they got it right at the right time. They made the World Series. But Vlad, we always know he's a 20 to 30 home run hitter, hitting anywhere in those 280s, 290s. So this season, maybe Bo Bichette being out of the lineup definitely affected Vlad. He's a big bat. He was for them, even though he's struggling this season for the most part with the New York Mets. Stan Tandar, he's been out all season. So maybe a couple decent hitters not in the lineup could have affected Vlad. But they also got Okamoto, who's having a solid year as well. So I don't know what it is, but the power's gone way down. The batting average has gone down. And he's not even driving anyone in as well. June 26th versus the Rangers, 2 for 4, run 2 ribs. June 27th versus the Rangers, 0 for 5. June 28th versus the Rangers, 0 for 4. And last night, June 29th versus the Mets, 1 for 4. So like I said, I don't know what it is with Vlad Guerrero Jr. He's not showing much right now. And he's easily a hitter you could get on a discount, where he was going into the first, early second round in fantasy drafts coming into the season. So right now, very puzzling with Vlad, but still a hitter I would take a chance on. And by this week, next hitter, Riley Green of the Detroit Tigers. He was on the list last week, and Riley Green, I know this Tiger team's struggling. They're going to sell a lot of pieces off at the deadline. There could be less protection in the lineup for him. But he's a talented hitter as well, coming off a monster year, 36 homers, 111 RBIs last year. And this season, the homers are way down, RBIs are way down. Average is up though, 9 home runs, 34 RBIs, a stolen base, 41 runs scored, a 285 average, and a 377 on base. In the last couple weeks, he hasn't done much. A homer, an RBI, 5 runs scored, a 222 average, and a 314 on base. So like I said, he's a main piece in this offense for this Tiger team. They gave him a rest day last night's ball game. It was this Tiger team to see if he could get back on track. And like I said, Riley Green, he really got hot towards the second half of the season last year. And we'll see if he could do that again as the weather's really warming up. June 25th versus Houston, 2 for 4. June 26th versus Houston, 0 for 4. June 27th versus the Astros, 2 for 5. And June 28th versus the Astros, 0 for 5 with a run. And he got the day off in yesterday's ball game with Ryan Weathers on the mound at the Yankees. So like I said, Riley Green, talented hitter, former top 5 prospect, even number 1 prospect arguably in Major League Baseball a few seasons ago, and coming off a monster year last season. I think the power numbers could go up for him. RBIs, yeah, they're going to be down this season where this Tiger team's not scoring enough runs, and they're one of the worst teams in the American League. So like I said, Riley Green, too talented of a hitter, I think, to be struggling all season long, and definitely a buy this week. Next hitter, Cal Riley of the Seattle Mariners. I'm going to keep saying Cal Riley on this list for the majority of the season. I know he wasn't going to hit 60 home runs again like he did last year. I know he had the oblique injury, but one season to go all the way down to where he is right now, 8 home runs and 204 at-bats, and to hit only 167, where arguably he could have been a 230, 240 hitter and have no problem with it. But like I said, struggling mightily, and the K rate's up even more for Riley, where at this point I think he's just swinging for the fences. 8 home runs, 23 RBIs, 2 stolen bases, 20 runs scored, a 167 average, and a 268 on base. And since he returned 2 weeks ago, hasn't been any better. 1 home run, 5 RBIs, 4 runs scored, a 186 average, and a 352 on base. He's still drawing his walks, striking out a whole lot, but at least the power I would want to see more of, and that hasn't been the case here for Cal Riley, where let's say he did hit a bunch of home runs, but he was at the 167 mark. You could obviously deal with it, but right now he's way down there, and I don't think it's going to keep up at this pace for Cal Riley. So like I said, he's only back a couple weeks. The last few games, they've moved him down to 5th to 6th in the lineup. He's alternated the last 3 games in that spot, and maybe that's what he needs to get back on track. June 26th at the Guardians, 0 for 3 a run. June 27th at the Guardians, 0 for 3. June 28th at the Guardians, 1 for 3 a run. And June 29th versus the Angels, it was good to see a decent game from him last night, 1 for 4 with 2 RBIs. So like I said, this Seattle Mariners team needs him if they want to make a deep run in the postseason. I know their pitching staff very talented, I'll give them that, but offense has always been a problem the last couple seasons. That just doesn't click 100%. with this pitching staff. So if Riley could get on a hot streak, we saw what he's capable of last season with the 60 home runs, where it seemed like he hit a home run every other game for the Seattle Mariners. I'm not saying he's going to go back on that, but if he could just improve just a little bit as Cal Riley, he could be a nice bargain buy for fantasy owners this week. Next hitter, Alex Bregman of the Chicago Cubs. Alex Bregman, it's been a mighty struggle for him in his first season in Chicago after getting a 5-year, $175 million deal, $35 million per year. Now he didn't hustle out a ground ball that was wobbled and short. The fans are really on him, and it's been a bad year in his first season with the Cubs. 6 home runs, 27 RBIs, 2 stolen bases, 39 runs scored, a 242 average, and a 339 on base in the last month of the season. 2 home runs, 10 RBIs, 12 runs scored, a 198 average, and a 333 home base percentage. So like I said, he was the big signing for the Cubs in the offseason. Kyle Tucker left in free agency. He went to the Dodgers, obviously. So they had that room to sign Alex Bregman, and he's just not hitting at all. I know the power numbers aren't going to be great for Alex Bregman. They've gone down, obviously, over the last couple seasons, but the batting average is way down. RBIs are way down, where he might even finish the season with about 50, 60 at best. I know he had 62 last season, but he was hurt for a little part of the season with Alex Bregman. So like I said, right now he's a perfect buy-low candidate. And that ball, now with the weather really warming up in Wrigley Field, is going to carry out summer months. June 26th in Milwaukee, 1 for 3. June 27th at the Brewers, 0 for 3, a run and RBI. June 28th at the Brewers, 0 for 4 with a run. And June 29th versus the Padres, 2 for 4. So like I said, Bregman struggling mightily in his first season in Chicago. And sometimes it takes a year for these guys to get acclimated to new teams and used to the change of scenery, especially obviously this Cub team over the last few seasons. They've had aspirations of winning a championship and contending with all the money they've been spending. So like I said, Alex Bregman, he's a pro. Yeah, he didn't run out a ground ball, but we've seen it happen throughout the league, and maybe that'll motivate him to get things going. But like I said, his numbers are way down, and he's definitely not playing up to the contract he got as Alex Bregman. So maybe he could turn things around, and I would take a chance on him. Right now, his value's at its lowest, and you could get him on a nice discount, where to be halfway through the season to only have 27 RBIs and 6 home runs, that's a low number, even for Bregman with the power going down over the last couple seasons. And the final hitter I look to buy and trade for is Francisco Lindor, the New York Mets. I know Lindor, he's missed a decent part of the season with injuries, but even in the beginning of the year before he went down, he was struggling mightily, and this Met team was on a 12-game losing streak in April. On the year, 3 home runs, 8 RBIs, 2 stolen bases, 16 runs scored, a 220 average, and a 303 on base. And the last week since he returned, a home at 3 RBIs, 2 runs scored, a 188 average, and a 235 on base percentage for Lindor. So Lindor, throughout his career, he's been a second half player, especially with the New York Mets is where he gets things going. And obviously the weather really warming up on the East Coast now as the summer really begins, and that's when the ball really carries out, especially at Citi Field. That ball in the gaps goes out in a hurry. June 26th versus Philly, 1 for 4. June 27th versus Philly, 1 for 3, run 2 RBIs. And June 29th at the Blue Jays, 1 for 4 with a homer in that one. So Francisco Lindor starting to get it going a little bit. This Met team, they're way out of it, 15 games under 500. They're going to be sellers at the deadline, but I don't think it's going to impact this lineup much, where they're going to pitch around Lindor. Guys like Mark Vientos, Brett Beatty, Francisco Alvarez are guys that'll get traded or even DFA'd, where they really haven't done much, are these failed prospects for this Met teams, where obviously Soto's going to stay. Carson Bench, AJ Ewing, their top 2 prospects they've been up this season going to stay. Since terms of lineup protection and pitches to hit, they'll still be there for Lindor, even though there is a possibility Bo Bichette could go in a deal if the Mets eat the remainder of the contract. And also, a very small chance I think they try to trade Lindor, where he's got a free clause and he's got many years left on his deal, 6 or 7 years, where I don't think another team's going to take it on. But regardless, Lindor's been a second half hitter, especially the last 4 or 5 years since he's been a New York Met, and he'll get things going. So right now, well, his numbers haven't been good all season long, and he's still not 100%, where he's not playing a lot of games in a row. And also, when he's getting a day off, he's getting a day off. There's a couple times he could have pinched hit the 2 games he was off for the Mets since he returned to the lineup last week, and they didn't use him at all. So with all those factors And Lindor pretty much is giving nothing to fantasy owners this season with his injuries. Definitely a hitter you could get on the cheap and buy this week. So that's a few hitters I look to buy and trade for Week 15 of the fantasy baseball season.